Hi, everyone. This is Krisha Young here, and welcome to The Dirt and the Divine. In this podcast, we say what wants and needs to be said. We allow for pure creative expression to happen, to flow through us, because the word is very, very powerful, and we have a lot to say about really deep and important things. So today I have just an amazing human, an amazing friend, an amazing goddess woman here with us. Her name is Maria Diaz, and she is a goddess in every sense of the word. I met Maria a couple years ago. We were introduced through another friend of ours. And immediately, it was one of those relationships, one of those friendships where it was like, we were at like some sort of mortgage thing, right? Or something like that, or real estate thing.
Definitely.
Hi, Maria, anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome. And we were at some sort of mortgage thing or real estate thing or something like that. And when our mutual friend, Sarah, was like, hey, you two should meet, we were like, yeah, of course. Like, there's just like, it was like, yeah, we've known each other forever. It was one of those friendships. And it's grown and gone deeper through our own ability to be vulnerable with each other and open up and talk about what's really truly on our heart and really truly on our soul, and what's working, what's not working, and just dive in and talk about the things that really truly matter. That's how I feel we've been able to cultivate a lot of trust, a lot of respect for each other. And it's morphing into gorgeous collaboration, and that collaboration has the intent of helping more and more and more people. Our intent is, whatever it is that we have to say is here to help other people evolve and feel amazing within themselves, but also acknowledge that whatever darkness or whatever, discomfort is there, is like, that's your playground, man. Like, that is the place for us to play and to learn and to grow. And you and I are not afraid of the dark. We're not afraid of the dirt. And we are not, and as such, we have experienced such divinity because of that. So welcome. I'm so blessed and honored that you are here. And, I can't wait to see what comes out of this conversation. And nothing is scripted, right?
Nope.
Nothing is scripted. We have no idea what we're going to talk about, except that we know we have a high level intention for today's conversation. And Maria wants to speak to your journey on releasing the shame around sexuality, and how you being self-expressed in a sexual way, in a sensual way, has allowed you to, has created space, those were your words, created space to be authentic and self-expressed in other areas of your life. So I am really excited for this conversation. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
So am I. And you're hired as my PR person, by the way. Side note.
Hey, you know what? I have PR in my design, actually, in my human design.
So there you go.
Yeah. I'm really amazing at selling for other people. I truly am.
So thank you. Thank you for having me on your show. It is such an honor and such a pleasure. And like you said, it was like love at first sight.
Yes.
And and it's been incredible developing this amazing friendship with you, and co-creating, and just bouncing ideas and standing for each other and supporting each other. So I am so honored, and I feel so blessed to be here with you and having this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Woo! We're gonna break the internet today.
Yeah. Watch out.
Watch out. All right. So from here on in, anything goes. So why don't you just start wherever you want to start about this particular journey? It is something that we're not taught this in school. Definitely not. We're not
Mhm.
taught this on television. That's for damn sure. We're taught the opposite of this. Um, there's not a lot of like instruction on owning your sexuality. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately too, about
Mhm.
the messages that we receive as women. And one of the things that pisses me off is that if you are a sexual woman, if you are embracing that according to cultural like television
Mhm.
movies or whatever, you're some sort of like hoe or horror,
Mhm.
or like looking for attention in some sort of way, or it's porn, or like there's a lot of shame around it. There is a lot of shame
There
around
is.
it. And it's
There is a lot of shame around it, and you're categorized, like you said, like you're a slut or
Mhm.
whore, and like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah,
And many years ago, those labels used to bother me, and they used to piss me off, and they used to make me sad.
yeah,
Like I'd be like, how could you call me this, or how could you think that about me?
yeah,
Now
yeah,
anybody were to call me a whore or a slut or any of those words that are considered negative in society, I would just be like, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for noticing me.
Yeah,
Thank you for noticing all the different parts that make up the woman that I am. Because, yes, you can say that about me, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and I'm a kick ass mom.
yeah,
And I also stand for people in their lives, and I serve my community, and I'm a wicked friend, and I have leadership skills. I have all of these skills, and some of them are, yes, that.
yeah,
So it really is about shifting our own consciousness around our own sexuality. And something that really helped me in that area is really embracing this concept of I create my life, I design my life. And it's been, I've been molding it over the years, specifically the last 5 years. And um it didn't start off with a very powerful knowing of my own sexuality. I grew up in a household where my parents told me that I couldn't have sex until I got married, or it was a sin, or it was negative or bad. I never really had any sex talks with my parents. That was the fullness of the sex talk. Don't have sex
right,
until you're married.
right. So in other
That's it.
words, I'm curious, let's just pause on that point for a minute, because like I want to slow some things down as points are coming across, because I didn't grow up in that kind of environment in terms of religion, but a lot of people do, right? Well, I'm assuming that's a religion thing, right?
And
And
cultural,
cultural thing.
because in
Okay.
like in my culture, my background, my parents, in the Spanish culture,
Right,
it virginity is like this thing to be saved. And there's stigma attached to young women being sexually active and things like that. So
right,
it is also cultural.
right. Yeah. So I'd love to touch on that just a little bit more, because that hasn't been my experience, so I
Mhm.
can't speak to that. But I know a lot of people
Mhm.
experience that, right? And so how did that like I would love to know how that like informed you in terms of sex and sexuality, that shaped those belief systems that you then like broke through to the other side and were like, wait a minute, that's not truth, right? Like the truth is over here and how I'm feeling now. So I'd love to hear your experience around that.
So it made me afraid of having sex. That's one.
Right.
So I didn't lose my virginity till I was almost 19.
Yeah. Okay.
And when I did, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And I was hiding things. So, like, it wasn't something that I could go to my mom and have a conversation. I
Right.
was very close to my mom. And it's not like I could have a conversation and go to my mom and ask her questions and things like that.
Right.
I didn't have that. So I kind of like muddled through things. And I actually had sex in situations where I actually didn't even feel like having sex, out of an obligation, like to a boyfriend or things like that. And the other thing is, it actually really created a lot of shame around sexuality. Like, it was something um, that was inappropriate in some way. And I really grew up with this thing that, once I had sex, that's it, I'm broken in that department. Like men are not gonna respect me to the highest degree that they would have if I was still a virgin. So in my brain, it was like, when I finally meet that person that I'm gonna fall in love with, that I'm gonna be with, this is gonna be an obstacle. This is gonna be something that I'm gonna have to overcome and overcompensate for. So it was this mentality of like, I need to overcompensate for the fact that, like, now I'm broken. That's it. I fucked up.
Wow.
And that is really fucked up,
Yeah.
because I'm going to move it forward. When I had my kids, like, that's what I instilled in my girls when they were younger. And I've had to do a lot of reversing of all of that nonsense,
Mm,
because I know how I felt as a young woman,
right.
feeling that there was now something broken about me,
Yeah.
that didn't make me, a whole woman, and in it, like something was taken away, um, that now I couldn't offer to the person that I was supposed to fall in love with, and therefore it made me less than. And I think that a lot of women deal with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, regardless of that culture too, right? Because I can say, even though I didn't have that type of upbringing,
Hmm.
there was so much shame around
Hmm.
my sexuality when I started to explore it as a teenager, you know?
Hmm.
I'm a very sexual woman, and through like my experiences, which I'm not going to go into right now, but because this is your time and I want to hear more of your story, but my experiences made sex to be almost like a frightening thing for me.
Mm.
And it was like, I don't understand it, I don't get it, it's dirty, it's like um it was something that from my childhood experiences made me feel like it was wrong. But then on
Mm.
the other side, there was that deep desire within me. And I was like very sexual, very sensual. I remember running baths for like one of my boyfriends, and just like there was so much tantra in it. And I didn't even know, at the
Mhm.
time what I was doing.
Mhm.
But there was so much shame, so much shame. Like just name calling and being like tossed around from dude to dude, and not having that sense of self-respect to know
Yeah.
that, oh wait, maybe I should personally have some boundaries in this, but
Yes.
also wanting to be expressed in that way, wanting to have sex, wanting to have that experience, and
Mhm.
having all of that swirling around and around and around, to the point where once I was, and I'm talking like from I think I lost my virginity when I was about 14 or 15.
Mhm.
Um, and then by the time I was about 17, I stopped
Mhm.
having sex. That was it,
Mm.
until I was like much older. So it
Mhm.
was so like deep in me that there was something wrong with this, that I stopped
Mm.
having it altogether,
Mm.
and that shut off like a huge part of life force.
Yes, yes, and that's definitely something that I wanna
Yes,
expand on,
yes,
because
let's go there.
from those experiences I had, and whatever was built inside of me,
Mhm.
I did walk into the relationship that I had, the longest relationship that I had with my ex-husband, which was 20 years, and with a sense of, there's a brokenness about me that I need to make up for, and therefore I actually allowed myself to be treated in ways that I would have never allowed if
Right,
I had that sense that sexuality, in me, being self-expressed as a woman, is something that it's part of being a woman and being a
Yeah.
human being,
Human. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So once I exited that relationship and I really went on a self-discovery, and I was in the middle of a program in which they asked us um, to do an exercise where if we lived in a world where we could say anything and be completely self-expressed and know that there would be no judgment, there would be, no negativity, and people would just embrace and accept you with compassion and love, like
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you would
Right.
say? And this was a room of like 150 200 people.
Yeah.
However, it was a very safe space because of what was created within that program
Yeah.
that I was in. And I was in my group with like, and my group was all ladies and
Yeah.
myself, and it was 5 of us.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I was starting to feel more comfortable,
Mhm.
with the decisions that I had made, and healing from the breakup, with my relationship with my ex-husband, and starting to date, or to just like feel like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've done all of this healing.
Yeah.
And I was telling the ladies, you know what? Um, I really want to explore sexually. I really want to be self-expressed sexually, but I don't know how. Like I can talk to you guys all day and night about the things that I want, and what I want in a sexual experience with a man,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna go up to a man and say that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So one of the ladies actually said, okay, then that's gonna be your thing to do. Like
Yeah. Just
I'm going to.
don't say what you don't want to do in a room full of like people who are like encouraging you to be more self-expressed. That is
I know.
going to be the one thing that you're going to be like, shit, why did I say that?
Exactly. So I don't know, can I say what she asked?
Yes,
You
say,
know what it is.
I know. We say what wants to be said, what needs to be said on the show. There's
Okay. And actually what she requested of me to say was all in the safe space, only for the purpose of discovery and exploration,
yeah,
and for me to feel comfortable in being able to say certain things.
yeah,
So she's like, one of the ladies is like, okay, so would you be able to go up to one of the men in the room and say, can I suck your cock?
yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, really? Are you crazy? And she's like, yeah, we're in a room of people that are so conscious that
Yeah,
saying that, like, they won't take it in any way.
exactly. Yeah,
And I said, okay, who is the safest person in the room? So I
yeah,
picked one of my friends
yeah,
who was the safest person in the room.
yeah,
And I went up to him
yeah,
and I stood in front of him. And this is somebody who I love, who loves me. Oh my God. And I went to go say it and I couldn't say it. I stood there, I froze, and I started to cry uncontrollably.
mm,
And I cried. And he was like, are you okay? It's okay. Whatever you need to say. I'm here to listen, whatever you need to say, Maria. And I just couldn't say it. And then my friend who had requested this of me, she was standing beside me for support. And eventually she said, oh, she just wants to say, I want to suck your cock.
yeah.
And then he's like, oh honey, it's okay. I can say that to me, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
And even with all of that support and that safety of how I felt in that environment,
yeah,
and in the middle of that exercise, I still was not able to say anything,
of
and
course.
all I did was cry.
Yeah,
So when the exercise was over and I went to sit down, for the rest of the day all I did is cry, because I was in such shock and realization that words
yeah,
um stop, like not being able to say something and vocalize it, that I was so stopped and I was so stuck
Yeah.
in this huge amount of shame,
Yeah.
that it paralyzed me.
Yeah.
It had me respond in ways that, like, I was frozen. And that really opened up my eyes,
Yeah.
because I was like, holy crap, if this is how my body, my mind, and my soul responds in this situation, which is non-threatening at all, and all I'm saying is a few words to someone, um how else am I being paralyzed in the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And how can I now go and heal this, because this is crazy.
Yeah. And I love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Like, I think it's so important what you're saying right now, on so many levels, because it's true, right? Like, when we are not expressed, when that throat chakra is closed, when we have that inability to be able to deliver the messages of our soul and of our truth out there, right?
Mhm.
What was coming to me when you were saying that is how, not like, the crying is a release, and the crying is the
Mm.
your soul's expression to recognize how not speaking our truth is actually self-harming. I think that
Yeah.
whenever we get into a space of deep sadness and deep crying over something such as this, not being able to speak our truth or not being able to
Mhm.
express our soul in a certain way,
Mhm.
um, it is ourselves understanding and knowing, like, holy shit, I'm harming myself here. And
Yeah.
that's not the conscious thought that comes through, but it's what I'm realizing. I've realized over the last, like, this year, last year, 2020, whatever, that there is this, like, sense of, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're
Mhm.
harming yourself. And
Mhm.
self-care includes going to these depths within
Yeah.
yourself and expressing yourself,
Mhm.
your truth, with the risk of being rejected, with the risk of
Mm.
being ostracized, with the risk of losing everything and everybody. That's hard for people to do. Like,
Yeah.
we're wired not to do that. We're wired
We are.
not to do that. It's
Mhm.
insane. You don't ostracize yourself from the tribe. You will die.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
hardwired in our brain. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're no longer in that. But our amygdala, our brain, our nervous system has not caught up to where we are evolutionary as humans. So the more we do this as humans, the more we're going to soften that alarm response within us and
Mhm.
allow us to love ourselves into expression. And the more we express ourselves, the more others will be able to express themselves. And then we will be a fully expressed society eventually. But okay, so keep going. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So you touched on very valuable points. And one of them is that I didn't stop crying for the rest of the day, because the realization of how sad I was
yeah,
and how burdened I was by this shame
yeah,
that was deep down inside
yeah,
was so, yeah, I was like, wow.
yeah,
Like I was really shocked at it.
yeah,
And then I went on this journey of, like, you know me, like, when I find something that is just like, hell no, I'm
yeah,
like, okay, get out of my way. I'm just gonna go get
yeah.
this thing done, right?
I know. That's what I love about you so much, is you're not afraid. You're just like, okay, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. So in that program, I then went on this journey of, like, okay, and at that time I still was dealing with like a lot of healing, with both of my daughters, like both of them and myself, going through a lot of healing. And i I didn't want to get into a relationship. So I was like, I'm not ready to have a relationship right now. However, I want to explore and I want to have something. And then in conversations within that program and outside of that program, I started, I was being suggested, well, why don't you take on a lover? And I'm like, I've never had one of those. Like, what is that?
Right. What?
So I'm like, okay, let me go.
Relationship? Like what?
Yeah, let me go and look into this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I started writing, manifesting a lover, and like what,
Yeah.
from my view of what I thought it could be, right? I started making notes and writing, and literally like maybe like 3 weeks later, he showed up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then I started that type of a relationship,
Yeah.
and that taught me so
So
much.
much.
Oh, my Lord, because I didn't know what that would be like. And so I was trying to turn it into a relationship, but at the same time, it's like,
Yeah,
no, it's not a relationship,
right.
okay?
No.
He's like, what do you want, woman?
Yeah.
He was very clear. What I'm grateful for in that lover relationship is that he was so clear and centered for what he wanted.
Yeah.
And so he
Right.
gave me the space for
Yeah.
me to figure myself out. And that lasted 3 years.
I love that. I love that.
So
And that's the divine masculine right there showing up, right? So whether or not he was aligned in divine masculine in other ways, that right there, just for anybody listening who's curious about masculine feminine energy, right?
yeah,
That holding that boundary
yeah.
is very delicious divine masculine energy, and like kudos to him for holding that. And I've had lovers do the same, right? Holding that energy. And it's like, because we're just like, more love, more love, more love, right? And in that feminine space, right,
Mhm.
we also need to have those boundaries. And it was a perfect reflection for you to evoke the divine masculine within you and have those boundaries within yourself to be like, actually, no, I do want a relationship, but I don't want a relationship right now. And I'm okay with this being what it is, and
Mhm.
owning that, right? It's almost like, it's like going from the child state to the adult state and owning
Yes.
that, yeah, I can have a lover and not get swept up into the romance or the relationship or whatever of that, right? But also having it from a place of love and
Mhm.
full on joy and engagement, and like, be diving all the way into it, right?
Yeah, creating a safe space, and I learned through that experience how to really powerfully design and co-create something with integrity and passion and safety
Yeah, yeah,
with someone else.
yeah.
And then soon after I had started that lover relationship, I hired Beth Ostrander
Mhm.
as my pleasure and sex and relationship coach. And at that time I was still a child in my own sexuality, and I was like, yes, I hired this pleasure coach.
Yeah.
She's just going to teach me, I don't know, how to have amazing orgasms, and
Yeah.
lots of squirting and all kinds of wonderful things.
Which, by the way, we're
She
renaming
took
is
me.
waterfalling. Squirting is now waterfalling, just FYI. Spread the word.
Okay,
Waterfalling.
waterfalling.
Squirting is like squirting. Waterfalling is water.
Waterfalling, I love that. Thank you.
Yes, I know. I put it on Instagram like, I don't know, 5 weeks ago. It's a thing now,
Awesome.
says
I'm
me.
taking that on.
Yes, yes,
Waterfalling.
spread the word.
I will spread the word.
Okay, so Beth is
So
like, you're like, oh, I want a waterfall, and yeah.
yeah, and I was like, and she took me into the depth of my soul.
Oh, love it.
And she took me into spaces where I was like,
Mm.
I hired you, and all I'm doing is crying because
Yeah,
the questions you're asking me and the
yeah,
meditations that we're doing, and like all of these things are like having me look inside and, you know, resolve all of this yuckiness inside of me. And like, what is this nonsense?
I love it.
And now,
Want
like,
to stay on the surface and not go here, but I want the results. So,
exactly. And then I was like, okay, let's do this, right? So
Woo.
that through that program, I discovered my core values, like really, really aligned with my core values, not the beliefs that I took on from my parents and
Yeah.
society,
Yeah.
not the beliefs
Yeah.
that I took on from my life experiences,
Yeah.
not just opinions and thoughts, but like
Yeah.
going into my soul
Yeah.
and aligning with what are my core values.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is I learned how to like really ground myself in knowing when I am out of integrity with my core values and what does that feel like in my body? What
Yeah.
does that feel like emotionally? In that way,
Yeah.
whenever I was making decisions,
Yeah. You had a barometer.
sexually or otherwise in every area of my life, if it felt, you know, if it felt that it wasn't aligned with my core values, then it was easy for me to say no to
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Right.
I love that.
So like for me, some of my core values are, my top core values are love,
Mhm.
freedom,
Freedom.
truth, integrity, and compassion.
Yes.
Like I have to have those in my life.
Yeah.
And so
In here.
so when it's not present, I can tell right away. And
Yep.
usually what happens to my body physically is
Yeah.
I'm always very upbeat, but I get very lethargic. I get very tired. I get cranky,
Yeah.
right? And emotionally, I become overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so when I can feel those things, I know that I'm not aligned with my core values and whatever decisions that I've made. And I have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes it's okay to have chosen something
Yep.
and to reevaluate and
Yep.
take a step back and say, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe this wasn't the choice I wanted to make. And now I'm going to change my choice.
Yeah, because
There's nothing wrong with that.
not at all. And I love this values conversation. This is something that I do too with my clients. It's like we do a values assessment when they first start working with me. And I'm like, let's just see what values they think that they have, right? And it's always a really fun exercise because as we spelunk and go deep, 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 like you said, and we start to like emerge the real person who they are, then they go back and they're like, yeah, those, I don't value those things anymore. And it's like, yeah, because they weren't yours to begin with. They were values that were imprinted on you from society, from parents or whatever. Now you have now, and it's like you said, you can now have that sensation of truth in your body. You know what's true, you know what's not true. I call this the integrity breach. When you have that sensation in your body and you're like, something is being breached. It's like breach, 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 right? There is an alarm system, and mine shows up as anxiety. Like it shows up as clangy. Things feel really clangy inside of me. So when I am in pure integrity with myself or with another human or in an environment or something like that, I feel very calm and very peaceful. If I have another person's energy or in a situation or environment or a conversation or something like that, that is out of integrity somehow, there's a non-truth somewhere happening in there, which is that's my vibration. I'm the vibration of love, but I'm the vibration of truth. And when I hear that, when I sense that non-truth coming, what happens to me is I just get clangy. That's the best word I can describe it. It's like clang, 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 clang inside my body. That's all I feel and sense and hear. And I'm just like, this is an integrity breach, you know? And I feel that within myself when I'm breaching my own integrity. Like you said, it's like you think that you're valuing something, you think that you have a belief system on something, but then when you start to really get into your body and you start to really sense the difference between something that is true and not true for you, even within your own self, not even an external thing, you get that early warning system. And then that's your opportunity to be able to walk into, okay, what is this? And like, do I still believe this? Or is it time for me to examine this now and go deeper in that, right? And clear and clean and scrub it all up. I love that you said all that. That's really, really cool. So talk to me about how, the second part about being self-expressed sexually. So you had this experience from childhood, then you started to explore your own sexuality, and that brought up like a whole whack of shame and You took on a role within your marriage where you were almost like that people pleaser, and let me, like, I will be good, because you felt that deep shame within you that there was something bad, right? And then when you released that relationship and you went on your journey and you were in this safe, like, coaching kind of environment and conscious environment, and you're like, I want to suck your cock, and you had that experience of like release, that sadness, right? So let's fast forward it a little bit into like maybe today, or just in the last little bit, about how that release, that saying that, and that expression of that, and then you talked about having your lover, and having, like, he brought that divine masculine boundary, which also then allowed you to understand how you could be expressed in relationships. And like, so how, outside of sex, sexuality, relationships, let's talk about how this energy impacted your life as a whole, like as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as going to the grocery store. Like, talk to me about that, because I know for me, it's had like such a massive ripple effect on every area. So I think the thing is, people think that sexual energy or sex or whatever is just about sex, and it's not. It's the energy of the universe. It's a language. It's a vibration of love, right? And so it gives us so much in life when we are open for that. So I would love to hear your experience around that.
Thank you for asking that. That's very powerful. So what I want to say to that is, first of all, sexuality to me is a space to heal, is a space to be spiritually connected with another human being.
Yeah.
It's a space of complete vulnerability.
Yeah. Yes.
And so for me, learning how to be self-expressed in a sexual setting with another human being and being vulnerable, like, it's easier in some instances to be vulnerable with our bodies, but it really takes something to be vulnerable with our souls, to be able to vocalize what is it that we want or what we like.
Yeah. Right.
And create boundaries around our sexuality.
Right.
And so in the process of me, like, really asserting myself and vocalizing myself as to what I wanted to really experience or experiment, or you know, being able to say no about things that I didn't like, and think, it actually really opened up my throat chakra and my heart chakra to actually, like, really be powerful in setting boundaries, in speaking my truth, and being able to convey exactly what I want and what I don't want in all the other areas of my life. So it brought more clarity in my speaking.
Right.
It created this space of being able to be more authentically myself, because a lot of that fear and that shame that was there sexually was gone. It disappeared. So it really created that space where, like, if I can show up like this in this area of life that is so vulnerable, right, where you could really have your heart
and you didn't die or burst into flames.
broken. No, nothing bad happened.
Nothing bad
a lot. And it doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes, or it doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes, or things didn't go the way that everything went perfect. It didn't.
And
there was a lot of
heartbreak.
Sorry?
And that there's no heartbreak, because there's still heartbreak in that.
Yeah.
But it's keeping it open.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So what happened is that I really got grounded in my own sense of authenticity. So now I can actually show up authentically myself. And whenever I'm interacting with someone, I could actually have compassion. So it brought out more of my compassion for myself and for others. And it also got me grounded in that my sexual energy isn't just for being intimate with another human being, that I could actually have that energy and that power and manifest with it. I
Yeah.
can pour that into my business. I can pour that into being a mom and now a grandma. I can pour
Yeah.
that into my friendships. Like
Yeah.
when you and I have
Yeah.
conversations, and this happens with most of my friendships,
Yeah.
even through Zoom, when I'm having deep conversations,
Yeah.
I have energy
Yeah.
moving through my entire body, and it becomes this orgasmic state of being, and this joy and this happiness that you know I feel is just so beautiful. And that is part of our sexual energy,
Yes.
sharing in that,
Yeah.
right? Sharing in that love and
Yeah.
sharing in that level of deep intimacy and communication. So it deepened the intimacy in all of my relationships. And that is so delicious and powerful and beautiful. And I feel so blessed. And it actually cost me to go and study further. So I've taken tantric programs and Reiki and other modalities where I now really learning to deeply understand the energy and the sacredness of the energy.
Yes.
So my maturity around sharing my sexuality, um it has expanded, it has grown, as to me choosing, I now choose powerfully who I want to share it with, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, I feel attracted to this person. Now there's
Right.
a much bigger process
Yeah.
that is behind how I choose to share my sexual energy with another human being.
Yeah, that's really important. And that's like inside and outside the bedroom. It's not just a lover or a partner or whatever. It's like it's outside as well. And you said, you touched on how sacred energy is. And I think that we take it for granted. I think that you know most people think energy is just, it's like that physical energy. It's like the you're tired or not tired, or like that kind of energy. It's like, can you run a 10K or not run a 10K? No, that's not the kind of energy we're talking about. We're talking about that vibrational energy that is um it's intangible. There's very few words that
Mhm.
can describe it, right? Like I've tried and tried and tried, and
Yeah,
we've
it's
tried,
like this bliss.
it's like,
It's
it's bliss. Bliss is the best word. It's like,
Yeah.
that's why the sexual energy is the closest energy that we can use to describe source energy. Because when we have an orgasm, for example, and we have that sense, like we have the ability to be able to just on demand, bloop, touch the button, hey, or
Yeah.
whatever, right? Stroke it out and have that blissful state within us, within our own bodies. We were gifted with that ability to be able to do that as humans on demand. And what we don't realize is that that is a sensation that can be cultivated in many other ways. And it's the same energy. Like I get the same sensation of orgasm when I'm doing breath work. And it's like fucking on fire if I'm in nature, if I'm in a forest or whatever,
Mm.
right? Like, part of my ceremony when I go hiking or when I go into the forest is to
Mm.
pee. And part of that is because I have to pee, but also because it connects me, it grounds me, and really connects me to the earth's energy. And from that, I get that repayment almost, in a way, maybe not the proper word, but like that's what's coming through of that energy. And it is that same sensation as if I am sitting in a prolonged orgasm, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think that it's for me, and it sounds for you, that sex at its base chakra level
Mhm.
has been the gateway to open up to that universal energy of sensuality and sexuality from the heart and from the crown. And you know recognizing that, oh, wait a minute, this isn't just for the bedroom. This is like, when you go outside of that, it's how the world feels. It's how energy feels. Is that
It's
safe?
that energy that you feel like, when somebody walks in a room and you're like, that person has presence. They have something that I want.
Yes.
It's because
That X
they, you know, they have, they're playing with their sexual energy. They're playing with that because our sexual energy
it's
is the most potent energy that we possess.
yeah.
And like when you were talking about the forest, being in nature really energizes me as well. And having deep conversations, like even this interview and us having this conversation, like, my yoni starts vibrating, and my body just starts feeling all of these sensations because
Same.
I'm in my power. I'm in my truth. I'm speaking my truth. And it all of this came about from diving deep, releasing the shame without making it wrong, without making my past wrong, or the people who taught me whatever they taught me wrong, but coming from a lot of forgiveness and a lot of compassion for myself and for others, and really
Yeah.
continuing that journey of self-care and self-love and self-reflection.
Yeah. And that I think that it's my firm belief that in order to be able to get to this side, this bliss sensation, this bliss feeling, you really need to dive into the dark. You have to dive into the shadow. You have to sit in that sadness. You have to go through that fire of, I want to say something, but I'm terrified of saying it. And then saying it anyway, and doing that over and over and over and over again. And it's okay to choose a safe space to do that in at first, right? You don't have to like go out on something like this and be like, I want to suck your cock. You can do it in something that is really safe and private and sacred.
Yes.
And over and over and over again until you feel strong enough to be able to express yourself in the public forum in other ways or whatever, right? That's how you build, that's how you pump, like in Kundalini, right? When we're pumping the like Muladhara, for example, when we're pumping the Bandha down there, what we're doing is we're pumping that energy throughout the body so that we can continue to increase our level of connectivity to ourselves and to source, and to increase that self trust and self faith to be able to speak and know that we're going to be safe regardless of what is being said out there. And so as we're cultivating and pumping that in our safe environments with our safe people, it gives us that ability to then be able to put it out and express it or not. Wait, like what?
That's
We
right.
don't have to choose. We choose to be people who are here to speak truth to the masses. That is a choice, a conscious choice that we've made. And we are active in that in terms of what, like now Clubhouse, we were just talking about that before we got on, right? And we're going to do something at 5:30 today, and which is cool and fun and exciting. But like this podcast, even just our conversations or whatever, live streams, things like that, you and I have made a conscious choice to clear those blocks for ourselves so that we can be a conduit for others to clear their blocks, right? In that way, and going into the dark. And we're not afraid to have those darker, deeper conversations. And also we're not afraid to talk about the light and how fucking amazing it is in that vibrational energy. But not everybody has to be expressed in that way. It can be something that you just like, okay, I feel good about it now, and I just want to say it to my partner, and that's it. Or nobody.
Exactly. And specifically, I'm gonna speak to women. If there's a lot there for you, and you're very introverted, or there's still a lot of shame,
Yeah.
You know, it could be as simple as standing in front of the mirror
Yes.
and telling yourself how much you love yourself, how sexy you are.
Yes.
Tell you what you want,
Yes.
and how you want to feel, and what you would like your partner to do to you. Like, practice by yourself, with yourself, looking at yourself in the mirror,
Yeah.
and start that way.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, it doesn't have to be getting centered and reconnecting to our sexual energy. Is not for the purposes of being like self-express and being very vocal about it. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, like you said, you and I have chosen a path
Yeah.
to actually be vulnerable in our experiences and what we've learned, because we want to contribute,
Yeah.
and we want to create safe spaces where other human beings
Yeah.
don't feel alone. And if anything that we say can contribute to somebody's life, for their growth, for their development, that just that's bliss for us.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why we share so openly and so
Yeah.
vulnerably.
Yeah.
And you know, we do take a risk. You know, I share very vulnerably about my life, and I take the risk of people unfriending me or not liking me or like
Yeah.
making comments and whatnot. But my purpose is solely to contribute to other human beings,
Yeah.
for other women not to feel alone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
for others to know that they can get to the other side of their journeys whenever they're in pain, or whenever they're suffering through something, that there are tools and that there are ways
Yeah.
that we can continue expanding and growing. And by no means am I saying that I have all the answers, because I absolutely don't. But I can, you know, create those spaces of safety and support based on what I've already experienced and have been able to overcome. And that's why I share openly about my life. It is not to gossip.
Yeah.
It is not to, you know, show off. It is not for any other purpose other than that. And I know you do the same as well. So everybody is different, and it doesn't mean you have to vocalize anything. If you could do anything that makes you feel empowered, and that starts chipping away at whatever shame or resistance you have around your sexuality,
Yeah.
you know, that's powerful and beautiful
Yeah.
in itself.
Yeah, exactly. And that energy just goes out to like the world at large, whatever you decide to do with it, right? It's like deciding to like when there is so much shame, we're not in our truth. We're not um uh,
The best way I can describe it for myself is like I felt like I was in a jail.
yeah, yes,
And like,
yes,
you know, as soon as I started speaking my truth more openly and being grounded, it's like my chest started to expand. Now, even when I sit with an expanded chest, and I feel this, uh,
yeah,
I can
breathe,
breathe, and I can breathe powerfully, and I can be grounded in trust in myself. So
yeah,
now I show up knowing that I can trust myself,
great,
and
yeah,
it doesn't feel like, ugh,
yeah,
like heaviness and this constraint and
yeah,
this like I can't speak, and I
yeah.
don't know if I should say this because somebody might, you know, take it the wrong way, or all these stories and all these things that I used to make up in my mind, you know, are still there, because we're human beings and a lot of our things don't go away. But what happens is that we create such a deep awareness that we're like, okay, I hear you talking, and now I'm just going to put you to the side. Thank you very much. And I'm going to keep moving forward with what I am choosing, even though this chatter is happening in my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it crowds it out. It crowds it out. It crowds it out. Yeah. Your higher self takes over more and more and more. And that is that vibration. That is that
Mhm.
vibration of bliss, of joy. Is that you know that your higher self, your soul, is more in charge now than that those other energies that are there to keep us safe. Like there's nothing wrong with
No.
that other side. I mean, it's there to keep us safe. And it's really interesting. I don't know about you, but in my body, the light is always on the right. It's always on this side, and the dark, which isn't really the dark, but the shadow, is always on my left. Do you have that? I don't know. I do.
No, I
No?
don't.
Yeah, I do.
That's so
It's so
amazing.
present for me. Yeah. Like
Wow.
I feel like sun is over here and shadow is over here. Like shade is over here. All like whenever I'm in these discussions, not always, but when I'm in these discussions and
Mhm.
both sides are present, it's like I feel colder on this side and I feel warmer, much more loose and warmer and everything on this side. It's
Mm.
really kind of cool.
That's a beautiful self-expression of your soul and your body to like really gauge and tell you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like a lot of tension on this side, and it's like this pulling, this like drawing of that energy out, and the enveloping of this energy coming in, and just
Mm.
like the softness of it, the velvetyness of it. It's so spectacular and amazing to be able to call that on demand, and that is through, like you said, like the process of that compassion and that forgiveness, and
Mm.
that's that ultimately what it leads to is pure self-love.
Mhm.
That's really kind of what we're talking about here in a
Mhm.
nutshell, is how to self-love,
Mhm.
right? Because when you are expressed and you feel safe in your expression, right? Regardless, or knowing that it's a risk, um, and you didn't burst into flames the first 500 times you did it, right? Like you
Mhm.
build that confidence. Again, you're pumping that muladhara. You're pumping the three base chakras there, so
Mhm.
that you're more in your heart, and you're more in your throat, and you're open in your third eye and your crown. You're open in all of these areas, and you're able to have that expression. And so you feel that sense of safety
Mhm.
within you, which then allows you to know what true love feels like,
Mhm.
from you to
From
you, from
within.
source to you. And that is pure self-love right there,
Mm.
you know? And I think that I don't think enough people are talking about that. Like, it's not just affirmations, it's not just it's the cumulative effect of all of those things, it every day. It's not a diet, it's not something that you do just once, right? Like it's the daily devotion
Mhm. There's a
to.
difference between self-love and self-care.
Yes.
Like, taking baths, uh,
Yeah.
uh, your nutrition,
Yeah.
these are all things to do with wellness and self-care.
Yes.
Self-love and it's more self-reflective, and
Yeah.
it's more like
Yeah.
going deeper with our souls,
Yeah. Yeah.
and really really rediscovering ourselves and learning more about ourselves
For you.
at a deeper level. Like that's self-love, and then embracing all of it. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
I something that has been really powerful in my life is that I can, just as much as I can list you my attributes of what I think I bring to the table that benefits, I can also name you very easily all the things about me that don't work, so that you know what parts of me don't work, and maybe you can support me in that. um but I'm not ashamed to tell you, guess what, I can be somebody who disappears on you if I feel uncomfortable, or I procrastinate, or
Yeah.
when I'm like very much in anger, I can react, and I become a drama queen.
Right.
um
Yeah.
like there's different aspects of me. I'm also somebody who likes attention.
Yeah.
So because I know all of these things about myself,
Yeah.
I know to have the awareness to catch them,
Yeah.
And I know to have the self-compassion and be able to take accountability and responsibility for, if you come to me and you say, you know what, I felt like you were being very selfish, and when we went out, I'm making this up,
Yeah.
and you only talked about yourself and you
Right.
wanted all my attention,
Yeah.
but then you didn't, I didn't feel loved by you,
Right.
then I could actually say, oh yeah, that's this showing up.
Yeah.
And then I could actually have a conversation with you and take
Right.
responsibility
Right.
for
Right.
the way that I had you feeling. Why? Because I understand and I know
Yeah.
the things about me that
Yes.
don't work.
Yeah.
And that is the pureness of self-love, right? Is when we actually embrace everything about us,
Mhm.
not just the things that we want to bring out into the open for others to see, but actually really embrace
Our-
all the things that don't work,
yeah.
our shit.
Yeah.
Like, here's my shit.
Here's my shit. Yeah. I know. I
Without all of the significance about it.
exactly.
Like,
It's just,
that's what it is.
I'm a human too in all of this. And, but it's like, but it's not, what you touched on is so important. And then we'll begin to wrap this up. But what you touched on is so important because it's like, it's personal responsibility. And it's also like, it's not, yeah, so what? I'm attention seeker, like get over it. It's not that. It is, oh yes, you're right. I know this about myself. And,
Mhm.
like we have an opportunity in that moment to, um, I make it right is coming to me, but that doesn't sound like the right
To
phraseology for it.
heal,
To
to
heal it.
heal more of it,
Yes, to
to
heal it,
heal
right?
it.
So it's like, so you can have that conversation with that person and just be like, okay, yes, I'm totally aware of my tendency to, be a drama queen or to be an attention seeker or whatever. Mine is
Mhm.
victim. I victim, victim, victim. Poor me. And
Mhm.
definitely that comes out, and my friends see that for sure. And there is a selfishness element, yeah, of course there is, because we are dark and light. We are the dirt and the divine. That's why this podcast is called that, because both exist. You cannot have one without the other. And when that one is bypassed and we are only love and light, then we are ignoring half
Yeah.
of who we are. And that's
Mhm.
because we don't want to be that person. We don't like that part of us. We don't want to be seen as drama queens, victims, selfish, any of that kind of stuff. But when we
Mhm.
own that and take personal
Mhm.
responsibility for it and dissolve the shame around past actions that we had when we were unconsciously behaving in that way,
Mhm.
because it's an unconscious behavior, that's what spins us out. But when we become conscious of it, of our ability to be able to be so powerful in that
Mhm.
side as well as the light, right? Then and if we do slip into unconsciousness and we do become that part of our persona, and somebody calls us out on it, we can have that conversation from a place of compassion and love, and not take it on ourselves either. Go, oh my God, I'm such an awful person. How can I, this
Yeah.
person's never
Yeah.
going to talk to me again. Oh my God. That's where I would go with it. Oh my God, and they're never going to talk to me again. I've just lost this friend. Reject, reject, reject. I'm being rejected. Like, I might as well die now. Or no, fuck you, I wasn't like that, or whatever, like the defensiveness, or like, yeah, so deal. No, that's not how it is. It is,
Mhm.
oh yeah, okay, that is, and this is why what I learned from my mentor last year was naming these parts of yourself, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that was Vicky. So Vicky came out. Wow, okay, she really came out, and I was totally unconscious of her coming out in that situation. This is why she came out, and and then it's like a conversation. It's not an apology. I'm sorry
Mhm.
for upsetting you. No, it is like, I don't know, like I would go deeper with that person, right? Like I know you would
Yeah.
too. It's like, okay, so what did that, like, how did that make you feel when I was like that? Like, did that pull something out of you? Like, let's go deeper into this. So it's not just like, oh, I'm so sorry for making you feel that way. No, It's, oh, okay, yeah, I acknowledge that this is part of who I am. And how did that make you feel? And let's go deeper into that so that we can have a much more richer and intimate and beautiful relationship
based on truth.
And not bypass it.
And what I'm going to add to that you beautifully said, is that it actually gives permission for others to be human too.
Yes.
It actually gives permission to the people that you engage with to be whole human beings and to have self-compassion.
Yeah.
So it creates that intimacy, it creates that depth, it creates that growth. So we actually, when we own our shit, we give permissions to others to own their shit. Therefore, we're standing for the growth and the development of another human being by doing that for ourselves.
Yes. I love it. I love it. It's the ultimate in self-love.
Well, I can talk to you for hours, but anyways.
What's that? What?
I said I could talk to you for hours.
I know. We're just like so like in awe of each other right now. I love you so much.
I love you too. And I am so grateful to have these type of conversations with you and that we could share it with others. And, you know, if there's any way that we can contribute, it's such a blessing.
Yeah. And how fortunate are we to live in a time where we can't, you know, we don't have to stand on a box outside shouting this, you know, we can just be on here shouting it. We don't have to shout, but you know, like it's how fortunate are we to have this kind of medium. And oh my goodness, this has been an amazing episode. I definitely want to have you back and talk about more things, because I know.
You know what I would love to talk about?
Yeah. What?
Body shame.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Yes, that's a
Would
big.
love to come back and talk about body shame because I would love to share how having one breast and having had breast cancer,
Yes.
and confronting myself about my own sensuality and sexiness, about my body with just one breast and a scar going across my chest, actually gave me more freedom. And I have never felt sexier.
Yeah.
I have never felt more yummy
Oh my God.
than I do now. And I didn't feel that when I was skinnier, when I had two breasts, you know, and it was quite a journey. So I'm always advocating for women to embrace their bodies exactly where they are, on the way to where they would like them to be if they want transformation, but to like really sit with that, just loving their body exactly where it is. And so I would love to have that conversation.
Yes, that's a full body. I am tingling all over. Yes. And, you know, just to wrap up this point, you are, but were such an inspiration for me around that as well. And like, in terms of me owning my own body more, you know, it was just like witnessing you in that space as I did, and just like really made me go, like it was just an imprint on me, a subconscious, unconscious, energetic imprint, where I was like, I felt it in my body. I felt that ownership of my sexiness. I felt that ownership of my feminine female body, regardless of what it looked like. It wasn't even a visual anymore. It was a visceral, energetic sensation of pure love in my body, witnessing you fucking be so in love with your own. So this is a holy hell yes for the next conversation.
I don't think you're supposed to make your guests cry.
Oh,
thank you. Oh, you just warmed my heart. I'm like, wow. I love you.
I love you. Oh my gosh, yeah. This is what it's all about, you know? Oh, One of the things that I'm practicing, and then we'll wrap it up, is receiving this energy more and more and more and more. I noticed in one of my meditations last week that I was even putting a ceiling and a limit onto receiving, this energy. I was like, okay, this is a lot. This is a lot, because it is a lot. Right? It is a lot
Yeah.
when you're not used to having so much love, and when you're not used to having so much joy and that sensation, like it's like we when I did my receiving challenge a couple weeks ago, it was like talking about that feeling of overwhelm is your ceiling of receiving, right? And that's how you know how much you can receive love and abundance and all the rest of it. And so there's been an active practice of like, just, oh my God, yes, this feels so incredibly overwhelming, and I love it. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. And that can also then be brought into like the intimacy of relationships, and even the intimacy of sexual relationships, like going deeper with your partner in terms of sexuality, just to put a little on this particular topic. Oh my God, I can talk to you all day. Okay. This is the thing with these conversations. It's like there is no end to them. There's no end to them, because there is no end. It's the energy comes up from the root, it kundalinis through, and then it goes out the torus, and then comes back in, and kundalinis through, and goes out the crown through the torus, and comes back in, and kundalini, and like it's infinity.
Well, we're going to continue another powerful conversation tonight on Clubhouse.
We are.
So I'm looking forward to that as well. It's been a pleasure being on your show. I am so proud of you. I am so moved, touched, and inspired by you, your essence, who you are as a woman, as a coach, as a mom, as a friend. Damn. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you
So much. I love you too. And I appreciate you being here and being so vulnerable and sharing these truths, because the world really, really, really needs it. And I know that like there was no brain in this conversation at all. And I love that. I love that. So thank you. So Maria, do you have any parting thoughts or words or anything? And how can people find you?
Oh, there's something that I consistently have been asking myself, especially in 2020, all of 2020. I kept asking myself this question, and I invite everyone to take this question on. And that is, how can I show up being more loving? What does it look like for me to be a loving human being in every situation? So for me, that has completely expanded more of how I show up as a mom in every area of life. And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram under Stand Coaching. You can find me through Krishna. And yeah, if you have any questions, if you want to dive into any conversations, I'm open to having conversations and contributing and being contributed to, because every interaction is not one-sided. We contribute to each other in so many ways, in every conversation. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. Well, I'll put all your links on the show notes and everything as well, so people can just instant click to find you. And oh my God, what an amazing call. Thank you so much. I love you.
Blessings.
And thank you to those of you who have been listening and watching, whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on Spotify or iTunes. Thank you so much for being here. And I would love to continue the conversation with you through DMs, through, you can email me, krisha@krishayoung.com. You can even write comments or ask questions or anything like that to continue this conversation, because like Maria said, this is a really important conversation for us to have a symbiotic connection with. It's not just a one-sided us saying blah, 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 being talking heads. This is heart-to-heart connection, and anything that you have in terms of questions or in terms of insights or in terms of your own experiences, I want to hear them. So please feel free and feel safe to be able to contribute back, and we'll take the conversation from there. Thank you so much for being part of this community, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye for now.